Okay, I created the same dimensional layout. These are 6 by 9, 6 inches wide by 9 inches in length. Book pages from the book that I want to print from. And then I did something, a little scribble note to myself, showing me the plain margins. An inch and a half on an inch on each side, an inch from the top, and an inch and a quarter from the bottom. So that's my book page layout. And then I started playing with designing something to go in those spaces. I thought, since the book margins are kind of uninteresting, and since I like to make this folio that I've been obsessed about recently, making everything into one of those diagonal folded folios, which look like this when I fold them all up. Let's see if I can do this with one hand and not make the camera go too nutty. No, I probably can't. Well, yes, it's working. Anyway, I do like this folio layout, and I've been making, well, I probably have 100 of them now. I've been making them every day. It's sort of my daily physical therapy to make this fold work. Now, this is one I did on just a plain book page, obviously, and this is how it looks, but it's uninteresting when it gets folded with all this margin space. So I decided to play around with that. And instead, as you can see, I found some borders I could throw into the margin. When I take this, I have it all grouped right now, but if I ungroup it, and then ungroup it perhaps again, you can see this middle piece. By the way, I made myself a template, which I can put on front, and which I can place in the space of the 9 by 6 page, and kind of know where the folds are going to be. And this is the back fold, and I think I have one here. Yeah, this one here, where I want to place something on the back. Then I can just place it right there. Okay, so sorry, my cat climbed up on my shelves looking for some tape, because he's a tape addict. Anyway, and he weighs about 18 pounds, so had a little trouble getting him out without having... Okay, I am back again. All that scrunching and carrying on and noise that you heard in the background was literally that great big black cat of mine trying to get some tape that he discovered in a place where he should not be. And then I had to put the camera down, and then I had to try to get him down. He is now, let's see, what's the word I want to say? Anyway, he's now out in the hallway. Doors are closed, so it should be more quiet. I'm sorry you had to listen to all that crinkling, crackling, but when he wants something, he wants something. Anyway, back here. So as you can see, this template gives me a feel for where the folds will be. And all I have to do, and I put it here, and then I know that that's the right, more or less the right spot. Okay, then I take this off, see if I can do it without picking too much else up. Let's see. Oh goodness, the sun has just all of a sudden got so bright. Hold on. Okay, I did manage to select it over here, and now I can pull it off and show you something else. But oh my goodness, the sun just got so bright. I'm trying to duck behind my computer so it's not straight in my eyes. All right, anyway, you get the idea, right? I use the measurements, and I know how big the thing is, and I put different things in it. And this is something I'd had for a while, this piece here, and then I made it smaller. Actually, I copied this whole piece, grouped it all together, made a copy of it, put it off to the side, and then slid it back into this spot right here on here without going through too much difficulty there. All right, so that's how I did the layout. These pieces are separate, this is separate, and this is separate. Although this is now one whole piece, even including the borders, because I just selected the whole thing and then shrunk it down to appropriate size and position. All right, so that's what I had going, and then I just hit my, as you can see, the red lines, when you use this thing and you have this thing, the red lines are those boxy lines that I made. And I will tell you, if you keep the setting of those lines, for example, just as a tip, here's the line, and here's my line style. Let's see, right there. And this is the color. Well, it doesn't matter about the color. You can make it any color you want. In this case, those lines are red. And then the style, you see this 0, 0, as long as it's 0, 0, it will not, those lines will not print. Now, the template that I made, in order for me to see it clearly, for example, when I click on it, you'll see the line change to 3.5. Now that will print if I leave it on top. And I also made it thicker. Of course, that's the idea of making it thicker. But it's the same black thing. So I have to remember to remove this, which is a little tricky sometimes, you know, because it wants to be in there. And sometimes I'm selecting too many things anyway. I won't go into that, but if you're using this software, just know that when you convert the lines like I did to see them better to a thicker line, those will print. I could probably show you here. I'm going to show you just like that. See, if I hit the print button and I get a print preview, you see this line? It would print. So I'm going to cancel that and then move this line out of the way. Let's do the print preview again. Print. And there's my print that I know I'm going to get. Of course, it doesn't see the book pages, which with all the letters, text behind it. But I did print it just like that. And I'm going to cancel that because I don't need that anymore. Then I'm going to show you how it works. This is my carrier sheet, much like the one I have diagrammed on my computer. And I have a template that I made. See, I just marked the middle of this page. I knew I had to come down for an inch because that way it'll print properly. And so by just putting this down before I had, you know, the printing on it, find the middle, draw the middle line, and then trace around where it goes, okay? So that's the first thing I did. And hold on. Okay, this is Amazon Basics, which is the cheapest thing, but it's non-permanent. And all I do is, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you cannot see it, but I'll wave it around here and see if you can see the bits of tape. There's one here, a little bit there. I put a tiny bit there, and definitely a little bit more up here. I probably put 3, no, only 2. Okay, so there's one in this corner, one in this corner. And you can't see it, but it's there, just little pieces of this. And then I take this tape and rub it on my t-shirt because I don't want it, even though it's removable, I don't want it to be too sticky. All right, because that's how I feed this thing through the computer. I place it down, and you saw my mock-up on my Silhouette Studio application, which I love to use. And this is what I got. So I couldn't be happier. Now I'm going to fold it. I don't know if you'll have time in my favorite folds. And I'm going to see, is this close enough? Maybe a little bit closer. Whoops. No, that's better to be out. All right, so there we go. And the first thing I do, see, I want to make these meet in the middle, and unfortunately I didn't cut it good enough. So I'm going to remedy that now on my cutting machine. Okay, well, I made it a little bit straighter, but like I said, we can fudge this a little bit. So what I do first thing is I try to find the middle, and I do that again by, now this is, you just pinch this middle right here, just the end, and again, and it's a bit wonky, so I don't know how this is going to come out right there. And then this paper does not want to be folded vertically, like they talk about the, what is it? There's a word for it. Like the paper, it folds easily this way and not so easily this way. So it's going to fight you a little bit if you use a book page, and if it's like mine. I don't know what they call it. There's a word for that, but it doesn't come to mind right now. So I'm going to try my best to see what I'm folding here. And you can have fudge this a little bit. You see, it just wants to wrinkle on that fold, and it's just book pages are not designed to be this, but guess what? When I want something done, I want something done. Anyway, it's a little bit easier now that I have the first one down to do this one. So now I've got, instead of a plain old border, I've got this sweet little design. And so I'm going to get close enough. I'm going to just fudge it a little bit. Fortunately, the paper is the same on the inside. Okay, now I've got that done. I go to the inside and say I'm going to make this the bottom. This is the top because of this. And then I move this up here, up there, and then that's half, then half again. But now be careful, because this fold, you just can do it fairly lightly, because now you want to reverse this fold. That's what gets that little tuck spot for the thing to go in. So let's see, where was I? Okay, here's the fold. I probably should have done it a little bit better because I need to see it. And the paper is quite malleable. So now I take this one and I try to reverse the fold if I can see it. Here it is. Okay, so now I've got that one, and I can be firmer with the creasing of that one. Then I take that newly formed crease, it's a mountain crease now, and I bring it back up to the center line, and this part that I'm pressing really hard is that little slot. Okay, the other thing I like to do is reinforce this, particularly this corner and this corner here, so I can see it. And if, I could mark it, but I can see the fold pretty good. Turn it back down this way. Hopefully I'm not confusing everybody. Then take my fingernail, which I like to do, and bring it almost up to the crease. Not quite, almost. And I know I'm doing it right when I've got this little peaky thing showing out over here. And again, bring my fingernail up and bring it almost up to the crease again. Then flip that up this way, and now I'm going to work on the tuck spot. And this one goes up here and almost to the crease as close as you can without going on top of it. There you go. And that forms, so I put it back down, then I go back and turn my long creases the right way, and that's what gives me this little pocket. Now, I've been getting fancy lately by learning how to turn this thing over. I could have turned this whole piece of paper over when it was on the carrier sheet and printed something up there. But this is such a simple design. I know I can just finagle that design with a wonderful black marker. Okay, so that's what I plan to do. and this is going to be this way. All right, now I get back, turn this around so this, all this fun stuff is down here. And then you bring this to the middle, and if you bring them both at the same time, it is said, although I have it doubled over, it is said you can make them come out even. So let's try that. Yeah. And then I kind of gently push this little crease so that they do meet. By hook or by crook, I'm going to make them meet. All right. So there we go. Push that down firmly. And then take each of these corners. And this gets to be tricky. I hope I'm in frame, yeah. And you just bend it so that this side will meet this side. Okay? And same over here. Same here. Okay? Now it helps to have a pen handy, and I think I do here somewhere. I've just put it, yeah, here it is. Or a pencil. And it really does help me, and this mark will not show, to put a mark there and draw this line. Okay? There. Because now you want to pull them apart, and you bring this piece, run your fingernail across or something pointy, and then press it down, and you got this little tail. Likewise, you do the same thing over here. Push this out of the way. I run my finger crease there. Press it down nice and firm. And likewise here. So what do you do with these two pieces? Do not get them inside of here. Get them inside each other so that the two separate pieces are inside one and the other. And then, let's make sure I've got my thing all working properly here. Okay, then I kind of push them together as best I can. The closer they are to bed, the better it comes out. Even if I have to kind of refold and repress, which is what I just did. Then the nice thing you do is this fold here line, you just take this and slide it under. And there you go. And now I have made the little folio. So it goes like this. We'll see what happens on the outside, because I haven't looked at it yet. And then I've got this on the place. Now let's see what happens. Well, it wasn't centered perfectly, although I could remediate that by actually folding the top part down. And there you go. It is centered properly. And then slide this in so it can go all the way down, or mostly, or leave a little extra so you can put more stuff in there, but I could refold and it's going to be a lot closer. Yeah, see, it's not. Now I can go back to my computer and maybe just move it down a little bit. I got to remember which side to move it to, which is my favorite side, the pointy side. So there's how you take a book page, print it. If you use the template, I'd be happy to share that template if anybody wants it. And look what I've got. And now would be a time, if you like to ink your edges, you can ink all the edges. Or anytime you want, just ink the edges. Sometimes I like to do the edges, ink the edges of this side before I start this side. That way this side can just open up wide. Makes it a little bit easier, but you know, where there's a will, there's a way. And if you want to get it done, you will. Okay, so that's it. That's how I do it. And I will make a little booklet to go inside. And I don't happen to have one handy, but I make a little zine, my zine folded booklets, and I sometimes use the same book page, and maybe I could scribble the same design, hand design, on the covers of that piece of paper with a magic marker. And then I sew it along in here. Some people show it sewn the other way, but I always like this point being on my right side because I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, then this side would be the one, I guess, to do. Let's see. No, this, yeah, this is where I sew mine in, right there. Okay, that's it. I've confused everybody enough. Okay, if you haven't found these yet, they're really cool. This is the Sharpie, but it has two ends. And I just scribbled to let you see. The thin one is nice and thin. The fat one is not too fat, but perfect. So that's what I'm going to do now, is see if I can't, with the camera on and the sun shining a little too much. Yeah, that's not too bad. You see how I can copy. I think I'll use the wide part. And yeah, then let's see what I can do. My hand's not very steady as it used to be. There. Not bad. And let's see. I can probably put one of these stylized flowers to see if I can study it a little bit. Yeah, let me do it on scrap paper first so I can figure out what I'm doing. And I'm going to go something like that. Take that one, or make it wider. Yeah, a little wider petal. Looks better. Okay, so I can do that, right? Maybe I'll use the other point. It's awfully fine though, really. But let me see. Okay, that's it. Love these pens. Love them. Okay. Not perfect, but that turned out pretty close, I think. But oh well. Of course, I could scribble some more on. In fact, I could scribble this part on here, but sometimes I'm better leaving well enough alone. I can't believe that this turned out so nicely. It looks like it was meant to be. So there we are. And I did make the correction on my computer. Scooch that up just a little bit more up that way. That's it.